Howard Johnson's Orange Rooftops, Hot Sams Pretzels, Orange Julius smoothies. These 10 mall food court restaurants once ruled America's shopping centers, but have now vanished from the landscape entirely. Some of these brands were so iconic that Netflix had to recreate them for Stranger Things' Starcourt Mall. From 80s mall culture defining moments to childhood memories that still make us nostalgic, these dining destinations shaped an entire generation before disappearing into history. Let's start with the granddaddy of them all, Howard Johnson's. You might remember when those iconic orange rooftops dotted highway rest stops, but Howard Johnson's actually began as a simple ice cream stand in 1925. Howard Deering Johnson started selling ice cream along the Massachusetts shoreline, and by 1939, there were 107 Howard Johnson's restaurants generating over $10 million in revenue. That's serious money for the Depression era. What made Howard Johnson's special wasn't just the food, it was the experience. Kids could work their way through all 28 flavors of ice cream, join the birthday club, and feel like they were part of something bigger. Those orange tile roofs weren't just for show either. Howard Johnson specifically chose that bright orange to serve as a beacon for weary travelers. At its peak in the 1960s and 70s, the chain boasted around 1,000 locations stretching from the Atlantic to the Pacific. But success breeds complacency, and Howard Johnson's quickly found itself overshadowed by McDonald's and other fast food chains that maximized efficiency. Meanwhile, Howard Johnson stuck to their slower, full-service model. When Howard Brennan Johnson had the chance to sell the family business in 1980, he took it for $630 million. By 1995, only 85 Howard Johnson's restaurants remained. The last restaurant in a chain that spanned nearly 100 years finally closed its doors in Lake George, New York in 2022. Roy Rogers represents one of the most fascinating stories of brand resurrection you'll ever hear. The chain started as Roby's House of Beef in Fort Wayne, Indiana in 1967, but when Marriott acquired it in 1968, Arby's sued for trademark infringement. The settlement required a complete rebrand, and Marriott wanted something distinctly American. Enter Roy Rogers, the singing cowboy himself. The first Roy Rogers restaurant opened in Falls Church, Virginia in April 1968, and the Western theme was no gimmick. This was quality fast food with a cowboy twist. At its peak, Roy Rogers operated 648 restaurants, pulling in serious revenue before Marriott sold the chain to Hardee's for $365 million in 1990. That's where the story should have ended. Most of those Roy Rogers locations became Hardee's, and the brand seemed destined for the dustbin of fast food history. But here's where it gets interesting. Two brothers, Jim and Pete Plamondon, whose father had been part of the original Marriott team that started Roy Rogers, decided to buy the brand back from Hardee's in 2002. They've been slowly rebuilding ever since, and in June 2025, they opened a new location in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. That marked the chain's return to South Jersey since the 1990s. Lines stretched out onto the street for that grand opening, proving that some brands never really die. Orange Julius might seem like just another smoothie shop to younger generations, but this chain basically invented the modern fruit drink. Julius Freed opened an orange juice stand in Los Angeles in 1926, but his real estate broker Bill Hamlin created the magic. Hamlin developed a mixture that made the acidic orange juice easier on his stomach: ice, orange juice, sweetener, milk, powdered egg whites, and vanilla flavoring. By the 1960s, Orange Julius had more than 700 locations nationwide, and the drink even became the official beverage of the 1964 World's Fair. Some say Orange Julius helped inspire wildly successful smoothie chains like Jamba Juice and Smoothie King. Dairy Queen bought the chain in 1987, and by 2018, all standalone Orange Julius locations had been converted to Dairy Queens. The last independent Orange Julius store in Portland closed in June 2025 after 42 years, marking the end of an era. The Magic Pan tells one of the most romantic origin stories in restaurant history. Laszlo Fono, a former skiing champion, and his wife Eva escaped from Hungary on foot in the 1950s and ended up in San Francisco. In 1965, they opened a small storefront on Fillmore Street, specializing in crepes. When demand grew beyond what they could handle with traditional pans, Laszlo hammered out a large iron wheel with 8 crepe pans that rotated over an open flame, cooking 8 perfect crepes in minutes. This magical invention gave the restaurant its name, and Quaker Oats took notice, buying the concept in 1969. The company went on to open more than 100 Magic Pan locations in malls across America, from North Park Center in Dallas to Woodfield Mall in Chicago. But by 1980, crepes were deemed passé. Americans wanted bigger meals and heartier food, not delicate French pancakes. The last Magic Pan closed in McLean, Virginia, in 1995. Mrs. Fields' cookies almost didn't happen. When Debbie Fields opened her first store in Palo Alto, California on August 18, 1977, nobody bought a single cookie by noon. Frustrated and afraid of failure, she took samples to people on the streets. They loved the samples and returned to buy cookies. Providing free samples became a cornerstone of her business model, a nostalgic memory for anyone who grew up in malls during the 80s and 90s. Between 1977 and 1988, Mrs. Fields exploded to 275 store locations, with 78% located in shopping malls from South Coast Plaza to King of Prussia Mall. By the late 1980s, the chain included 425 stores, reporting annual retail sales of over $87 million. But here's the harsh reality of mall retail. An average Mrs. Fields store needed to sell 200 cookies a day just to cover rent. The company filed for Chapter 11 protection in 2008, avoided another bankruptcy by ceding control to creditors in 2011, and filed for bankruptcy again in 2018. Today, Mrs. Fields exists primarily as an online business and licensing operation. Sbarro represents the ultimate mall food court success story and cautionary tale rolled into one. Gennaro and Carmela Sbarro founded their Brooklyn pizza shop in 1956, but the real innovation came in 1970 when they opened their first mall location at Kings Plaza Shopping Center. That New York-style pizza sold by the slice model was perfectly suited for food court dining. By 2003, nearly 1,000 Sbarros operated in mall food courts across 46 states and 26 countries. But the chain filed for bankruptcy in 2011, then again in 2014, just 3 years later. The decline of mall food courts and changing American dietary preferences hit Sbarro hard. By 2016, only 318 locations remained in the US, less than half the number from 12 years earlier. But Sbarro's story doesn't end there. Since 2022, the company has opened more than 300 new locations, pivoting away from dying malls toward convenience stores, travel centers, casinos, and colleges. They now operate more than 800 restaurants worldwide, proving that sometimes you have to completely reinvent your distribution model to survive. Kenny Rogers Roasters, launched in September 1991 with country music superstar Kenny Rogers and former KFC CEO John Y. Brown Jr. at the helm. The first store opened in Coral Springs, Florida, with Kenny himself cutting the ribbon. The concept was rotisserie chicken with a home-style twist, and it worked. The chain grew to over 350 restaurants across multiple countries, with annual sales topping $300 million. If you're a Seinfeld fan, you'll remember when Kramer became obsessed with Kenny Rogers chicken in that iconic chicken roaster episode. That kind of pop culture presence should have been pure gold for the brand. Instead, the chain declared bankruptcy in 1998 and was sold to Nathan's Famous for just $1.25 million. The last US location closed in 2011. But here's the twist. Kenny Rogers Roasters is absolutely thriving in Malaysia and the Philippines. Today, the chain operates over 200 locations across the Asia-Pacific region, larger than its presence ever was in America. Sometimes, a brand just finds its true home in an unexpected place. Rax Roast Beef started as Jack's Roast Beef in Springfield, Ohio in 1967, founded by Jack Roshman. The concept was simple: roast beef sandwiches that competed directly with Arby's. At its peak in the 1980s, Rax operated 504 locations across 38 states. The chain introduced baked potatoes and salad bars in 1981, trying to position itself as the champagne of fast food. That repositioning proved disastrous. The upscale transformation drove away core working-class customers while obscuring the brand's staple sandwich business. Then came one of the most bizarre marketing campaigns in fast food history, Mr. Delicious, a middle-aged cartoon man who made sad, wry comments about his personal life while promoting Rax food. It was supposed to appeal to the Saturday Night Live demographic, but just confused everyone. Rax filed for bankruptcy in 1992 and has been struggling ever since. As of December 2024, only 6 locations remain, 1 in Illinois, 1 in Kentucky, and 4 in Ohio. A new location did open in New Carlisle, Ohio in 2022, proving there's still some fight left in this regional chain. Great Steak and Potato Company has a classic origin story. Two brothers from Ohio traveled to Philadelphia in 1982, fell in love with cheesesteaks, and decided to bring that experience back home. They founded Great Steak and Potato Company, specializing in thinly sliced sirloin steak and melted cheese on fresh French rolls baked in-house. The concept worked well in food courts, reaching nearly 160 locations by 2010 in malls like Valley Fair and Eastgate Mall. Unlike some of our other chains, Great Steak is still around, now operating under Kahala brands and simply called Great Steak. But their presence has significantly diminished from their peak years when every major mall seemed to have one. Finally, there's Hot Sams Pretzels, the chain that started the entire mall pretzel phenomenon before Auntie Anne's took over the world. Julius Young opened the first Hot Sam at Livonia Mall in suburban Detroit in 1966, pioneering the concept of fresh-baked soft pretzels in shopping centers. By 1985, 175 Hot Sam locations were generating between $30 and $50 million annually. The pretzels weren't actually made from scratch. They were factory pre-made, flash frozen, and shipped to stores where they were baked in rotating drum ovens that took about 16 minutes per batch. But nobody cared about the behind-the-scenes process when that warm pretzel smell hit you in the mall corridor, a nostalgic memory that Auntie Anne's would later perfect and dominate. General Host bought Hot Sam in 1971, sold it again in 1986, and Mrs. Fields acquired it in 1995. Mrs. Fields then purchased Pretzel Time and merged the chains under the Pretzel Time brand. The last Hot Sam locations converted to Pretzel Time in 2005. The brand got one final moment of glory when Netflix recreated a Hot Sam for the mall food court scenes in Stranger Things, reminding us all of when these pretzels were everywhere. The decline of these restaurants tells a larger story about American culture and the dead mall phenomenon that swept across the country. It parallels the broader decline of mall culture itself. After the pandemic, indoor malls saw a 6.5% year-over-year decline in 2021. Rising vacancy rates, skyrocketing rents, and the shift to online shopping have fundamentally changed how Americans dine and shop. But there's something deeper here too. These restaurants weren't just about food, they were about shared experiences, family traditions, and community gathering spaces that architect Victor Gruen never imagined when he invented the enclosed shopping mall concept. Howard Johnson's 28 flavors, Orange Julius's signature frothy drink, Mrs. Fields' free samples, Sbarro's by the slice convenience, each represented a different way of bringing people together around food. Some of these brands have found new life online or in international markets. Others survive in dramatically reduced form, serving customers who remember when shopping malls were the heart of American social life. A few have managed successful pivots to new distribution models, but none will ever recapture that specific magic of being the go-to destination in America's shopping mall food courts. The next time you walk through a modern mall food court, dominated by Panda Express, Chick-fil-A, and chain restaurants that exist everywhere, remember these pioneers. They helped define an entire era of American dining culture, creating childhood memories that lasted long after their last locations closed. In a world of increasingly homogenized food options, these defunct chains remind us of a time when mall dining offered genuine variety, regional flavors, and brands with real personality. That's a kind of nostalgia worth remembering.